Welcome to the Art of Faith podcast by Granite Creek Studios. I'm Joshua Kapczynski. In today's series, we are continuing with Who is Jordan Peterson? We are on rule number 8, and that is tell the truth or at least don't lie. Seems to be like a very easy one, a very base one, but of course, Jordan Peterson, in his way, can find something profound even in the simplest of lessons, and such as lying. And so, when we think about lying, I always think about Pinocchio. He's this naughty little boy who wants to have fun and doesn't want to pay the consequences. And when he tells a lie, his nose grows, and then you tell a lie upon a lie. It's Shakespeare's famous quote, "Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive." And so we all have a general understanding that lying is bad, that we should not tell tall tales. The irony is that most pastors have the ability to be a little hyperbolic. They use hyperbole in their messages. They tell big fish stories. I think all pastors lie about how many people actually attend their church. They inflate the numbers evangelistically. So then it's human nature to conflate and maybe to exaggerate. And so we will be leaning into that idea of just exaggeration a little bit. Regardless, we know that we should not be telling lies about others or lies about situations to make ourselves look better, to get what we want, to tear somebody else down. Like, I'm hoping those of you that are listening and watching, at least you have some moral compass to understand that that lying is a sin. So we get that. That should be a no-duh. Jordan takes this idea of telling the truth, or at least don't lie. He takes it to a little bit of a deeper level that challenges the best of us. It challenged me because he's going to say that we ought to be truthful in each and every situation and circumstance. What do you mean by that, Pastor Josh? Well, if we ever find ourselves in situations where we don't necessarily want to deal with difficult situations or difficult people, and it's just easier not to say anything at all, because if we present the truth, then there might be consequences to being truthful. If we present the truth, then there might be backlash to what is being presented or what is being challenged. Jordan, of course, he will highlight and use as his illustration totalitarian regimes. So he'll use, he likes to pick on Stalin, and he likes to pick on Lenin, he likes to pick on communism, and rightfully so. But he would say that totalitarian regimes, such as Stalin's communist regime, it needed to be confronted by truth, and there was very few people that would stand up to that regime, because if you did, you would either end up dead, or you would end up in a Siberian concentration camp, a gulag somewhere. And so standing up with truth in oppressive situations will cost you something. And that's his point. And yet he's pushing on all of us to be brave. Now, as it stands at the moment, if we are standing up for truth, no one's going to put us in a concentration camp or kill us or imprison us. Not yet. If you've been watching the news, that might be changing pretty soon. We live in a crazy world. And so I think that this is some timely advice. This is timely wisdom to get inside of our heads and to begin to embrace truth. at all costs, even if it costs us something. So let's just say in our current culture, in our current situation, we have the hot topic, and I've talked about this before on this podcast, but the hot topic is the whole gender identity and figuring out what your pronouns are, and changing your identity if that is your truth. And so we're coming at this issue. Some of us come at this issue in different ways. Some of us are, you know, militant and reactionary against the political forces that are pushing the agenda that you can basically become whatever you want to be. At one time, Canada had 16 different genders that you can pick, you could check off on a box. And now I think it's hundreds, and it's just, it's this madness. And so very few people will speak truth to that situation. Very few people, specifically in academia and specifically in the sciences like biology, very few biologists are being truthful and saying, well, biologically, there is male and female. And so they won't do it. They won't speak up to truth because they know that if they do, they'll get canceled, or the woke mob will come after them. And so this is, I've said this in other podcasts, what Jordan Peterson has to present to society is important, but also what he has to present to the church is important. Now, I don't think that it would be wise to be militant to people that are struggling with, gender identity issues. We should not be guilting them or shaming them or making fun of them or uh, kicking them out of churches. And this should be the exact opposite. We should be trying to have conversations and open dialogue and understand why they want to have a sex change and why they think that they are multiple personalities. And it's just, if you think about it from those aspects, those that identify as they, them, she, he, like they adopt all those identifiers. Like it, no one says this, but the truth of it is like that sounds like clinical schizophrenia, but nobody says that. And I'm not a psychologist. The only person that would say that would be Jordan Peterson. But if you're identifying with multiple sex genders and multiple identities, again, that's the textbook definition of schizophrenia. And so it begs the question, nobody's asking it, and everybody's afraid to. Everybody is afraid to present truth or question. So that is the big idea. So we do have some social issues that we could speak truth to, or we can stand our ground like this is the way that it should be. This is the way that it has been for thousands of years. We can't just, make up new rules all of a sudden and go into crazy town. Like, we should be able to draw specific lines and say this is truth. But of course, Peterson, in his way, he goes after social situations, and yes, he goes after totalitarian regimes, but he is more interested and focused on how you as an individual, how you deal with truth and how you speak truth to certain situations and certain people in your life. So the same principle can apply to your most intimate day-to-day relationships. Are you truthful in every relationship that you are a part of? For example, if you're married, are you truthful to your spouse? And I'm not saying like you're hiding in an affair or, you're sneaking around and, I don't know. There's hiding things from your spouse. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, are you truthful about what your needs are? Are you truthful about how certain behaviors affect you? Like when you get upset, when your spouse makes you upset, do you take the chance and say, you know, this is what happened. I understand why this happened. I understand how you would feel in this situation. But the truth is, you're a jerk. I mean, not, of course, we can't just say that, but do you see what I'm saying? We have to be able to confront people. Like, if we can't, in a healthy way, confront those that we say that we love the most. We don't have the emotional bandwidth or strength to confront our own spouse, or we don't have the courage to confront our own children with maybe some of the behavior that they are doing that we know is destructive. But we have established the relationship of friendship with our kids. So friendship is more important than parentship. If we've done that and we're afraid to confront our own kids, we can't have confront our own kids, can't confront our own spouse, then we have absolutely no business at all trying to confront society in all of their problems. Now, that's what Jordan Peterson would say. And actually, that's what Jesus would say. Jesus would say, before you start, pointing out all the falsities and all the wrongdoings in society and other people, you need to take a good, hard look at yourself first. This famous parable that you need to take the plank out of your own eye before you begin to look around for specks in other people's eyes. So it goes back to getting your house in order first. So truth is paramount, and it can be in complete contradiction to what is rational or what seems to be right. So let me explain. Like, for example, we'll go back to Peterson's illustration on communism. The communists, like, they had the most incredible system, a system of governance and equality, equity. Again, all buzzwords that we're hearing these days. So they had this passion that there would not be royalty that would be taking advantage of the proletariat or peasants and poor people. And so they leveled the playing field, and they made a system, they made a machine that seemed to be perfect, that would meet as many people's needs as possible. And communism is extremely rational. Like, it makes sense. It seems just. It seems doable. And yet we know that it is an evil regime. Every single country that has experimented with communism has made something horrible, and then they revert to some sort of free market capitalism. And it might be run by the government, but let's take a look at China. They're not the same communists that they were in the 80s. They're a different type of communists that like to make money. Anyway, so how do we confront systems that seem right but they are not right? So communism is an evil regime. It's an evil machine that seems to be rational and just, but it's not. So that's an illustration for what can take place in our own lives, because we can build our own machines. We can build our own sense of rationality, meaning that we can rationalize and justify our bad behavior. The end will justify the means, if you will. So we can easily go into this mindset that everything that I do is right, and everything that everybody else does is wrong. Like, everybody else is a bunch of losers, or they're all out to get me, and they all make mistakes. I don't make any mistakes. I'm the moral authority. Basically, the world revolves around me, and everybody else, they're just players in my world. Now, That is actually a rational mindset. And you can reason your way into abusing people, and it is so easy to justify taking advantage of people and abusing people. There's so much power in it, because why? Now this is important. Why? It's because we have the ability to deceive ourselves. Human beings can lie to ourselves, and we believe our own lies. I actually preached a message on this last Sunday on who do you trust, and part of the message was, you can't trust the government. Obviously, you can't trust institutions. You can't trust um, industry. You can't trust these big corporations that are out to make money at all costs, that will pull on your heartstrings to get you to buy their toothpaste. You can't trust the man. You can't trust big pharma. There's like just a myriad of things on a large corporate level that you shouldn't trust. You should question all of these things. Question our educational institutions. Question our religious institutions. Like it like I don't want to get in trouble for saying this, but the corporate structure that is not bowing the knee to the Lord and the Lord's will, it's just going to turn into something evil. It's just the way that it is. It's human nature, and again, all the rationality and the justification of corporations that produce is justified, but it's not necessarily good. So you can't trust complex human-made organizations, and you can't trust certain types of people on a smaller group or a smaller individual experiences. Like you can't trust used car salesmen, and you can't trust foreigners. And I'm joking around when I'm saying this. I did this bit on Sunday, and some people took it seriously. It took me a while for them to get the point that I was being sarcastic. So you can't trust foreigners. You can't trust people that look different than you. You can't trust old people. You can't trust young people. And so you have to be careful about, the point is we have to be careful about who we trust and who we let into our circles. And the God and the Word of God would encourage us, and does encourage us in New Testament um, way of living, is that we need to open up our lives to each other and share our lives with each other. And so, yeah, it's hard to trust individuals, but we need to be vulnerable, and we need to try. And the final point in my message on Sunday was that, you can't even trust yourself. And again, we are our biggest liars to ourselves. We will lie. We'll tell ourselves that we're amazing. We will tell ourselves that everybody's wrong and that we're right, and that everybody has abused us and everybody's taken advantage of us. Everybody's out to get us, and we'll believe all of these lies. And so Peterson will say, look, we need to turn in, and we need to face the hard truth about who we are and about our motivations. So not only do we have to tell the truth about what's going on in the world around us, but we have to have the courage to tell the truth about what is going on inside of us. And that, my friends, is a scarier and more difficult venture to go on, because it requires a little bit of introspection. Like you really got to step outside of yourself and say, am I living in truth, or am I just trying to skate by? Am I just trying to take advantage of people and situations so that I can get what I want? I know my carnal man, my carnal nature, it just wants pleasure. Or my carnal man, my carnal nature, it just wants to be popular. It just wants everybody to like me. Or my carnal man and my carnal nature just wants money. Or my carnal man and nature just wants to be left alone. I don't want to engage. I don't want to be responsible. I don't want to take risk inside of society. I don't even want to be a player. I want to disconnect. And so we have to come to terms about what our truth is inside of us. And and again, that's hard. And so what do you what do you be truthful about? What do you speak up about? And again, maybe you're going to choose your battles. Maybe you're like, you know what? Now's not a good time for me to speak the truth in love in this situation because it's probably going to cause a lot of drama. I totally understand that perspective. It's like, yeah, maybe, maybe you shouldn't call, you know, your best friend fat. I mean, that's true, right? Your best friend's fat. He's eating too much. He's lazy. Drinks too much beer. He's letting himself go, and maybe he's a little down the dumps right now. So maybe now is not the best time to be truthful and say, dude, you need to pull yourself together. So, so you have to be wise and when you're truthful, right? Um, and so you don't want to devastate people or situations with a truth bomb, but at the same time, you should not lie. So that's the next point about Peterson's point. Tell the truth or at least don't lie. So, if your fat friend says, "Hey, how do I look in these skinny jeans?" You should you shouldn't lie about that situation, because if you do, then you're moving yourself into self-deception. You're not being honest with your own self and how you deal with people. So if your fat friend says, "How do I look in these skinny jeans?" You should say, don't lie. Don't say, "You look amazing." Like, you're just rocking those skinny jeans. You should wear skinny jeans all the time. Like, yeah, you don't have muffin top. Your gut's not hanging over the top. Like, you should not lie. So you might not want to always be overly truthful. You might not want to use truth as a blunt object to bludgeon people, but at the same time, hold on to your integrity and at least don't lie. Now, what Jordan doesn't get into in this chapter, and I just think that, I don't know, maybe it was beneath him to talk about such things, but he doesn't talk about the issues of white lies or morally justifiable lies. So, you know, a white lie, for your fat friend in skinny jeans would be, yeah, they look all right. So that would be like a little bit of a white lie. Or, everybody lies when they're running late for something, right? So, you ran late to your kid's birthday party and you felt terrible about it because he completely spaced out. And so instead of, saying to your kid, yeah, I completely forgot about it, which would hurt your kid's feelings because it just means that you're not present. So instead of doing that, you just like, I got stuck in traffic. So that's a little white lie, right? It doesn't hurt anybody. It actually will spare somebody's feelings. So Peterson would say, don't even do that. Like, just be upfront and truthful to yourself, because everybody can even pick up on white lies. So he'll go there. But what he doesn't necessarily address, and which I think he should address, is he doesn't address the morally justifiable lies. So let's say, hypothetically, there's some bad guys that break into your house and you hide your family away in the basement. And then the bad guy beats you up and says, "Hey, where's your wife and kids? Because I want to kidnap them and extort money out of them." So, and the bad guy says, "Are they hiding in the basement?" What are you going to say? You're going to say, "Yeah, they're hiding in the basement." No, you're going to lie. You're going to lie to protect the life of an individual. So Peterson doesn't address that, and I think that he should have. But anyway, that's probably one of my only critiques of Peterson, is that he doesn't address. It's probably beneath him. He probably assumes that we're all smart enough to know that, in the case of life and death, it's okay to lie to protect a loved one. I think most of us would get that. But regardless, he should have brought that up, because there are certain people with their philosophical convictions that will not lie on any occasion. So Socrates was one of them. So he would not tell a lie. Accordingly, um, George Washington would never tell a lie. Who knows about that? But I believe it's the Stoic philosophy that they won't lie about anything, even at the cost of somebody dying. So that's, I don't know. I think we can all agree that that's kind of, it's a little bit of extreme. So we would all lie a little bit to save, the lives of somebody that we loved. If it wasn't for people lying during the Holocaust, there would be a lot more dead Jews. There was a lot of lying going on to hide people from the extermination camps. So where do we go from here? I would say, first of all, uh, be extremely introspective. Take a good hard look at yourself. And, you know, first of all, are you lying to each other, lying to yourself? And second of all, are you being truthful? Are you telling yourself the truth about yourself and about your situation? Like speaking to yourself it's a very powerful tool that we all can take. So speaking truth to yourself could be like, Pastor Josh, um, you put on too much weight and you should not wear skinny jeans. So I can actually speak truth to myself. And there's an immense amount of power to that. And it will take courage to highlight what is blatantly wrong and blatantly harmful in your life that you need to address. And then you need to speak truth to people that you are closest to, that you love. You have to be willing to hurt and offend those that you love because the spirit of truth demands it. Wisdom will say you need to do it within the right time. And then I think once we get those two things down, then we could start speaking truth into society. And then we earn the right to do it. We have a model. We've modeled what living in truth means, and submitting to truth, and not being false, and not being liars means. And once we get there as a church and as individuals, then I think that we can take on the world. And so with that, I leave you. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. We'll just go with that simple, and encourage you again to read the book. And I'll see you next week on the Art of Faith podcast as we cover who is Jordan Peterson and what does he mean for the church. God bless you guys. See you next time.